Hi, Rita. You don't remember me, do you?
Maybe.
I'll tell you why.
Do you know what he? Hold on. Do you know what he does for a living?
No.
What?
You were in my movie. I interviewed you for Women Aren't Funny.
You did? What, was I funny?
Yes. We interviewed you in your dressing room.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
I remember Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You don't remember?
I remember
you don't
my
remember
dressing room. So much has happened
Right.
since then. How now? Come on.
It was 5 or
be
6
fair.
years ago.
It had to be more than that because I
Maybe it was.
It was because
Yeah.
after New York, I worked in Harrah's and at the Venetian, and that was a while ago. So it could have been 9 years.
No, it wasn't. It was a while ago.
See, well, a while is not specific,
But
and
you
now you're
stole the
blaming
movie.
me.
You stole the movie. I'm not blaming
I
you.
don't steal.
I'm saying you were
I
great.
don't steal.
You were great
I
in the
don't
movie.
remember you, and I don't steal.
Well, don't let.
I stop it. I'm leaving. I'm outnumbered. I've been
There's
here
a
for
kid.
2 minutes. I've been attacked.
Yeah.
I've been harassed.
Yeah.
I've been here
I'm
for 15
over.
years in the
I'm,
tax.
I'm sorry. It was nice meeting all of you. I don't know who you are either. But I just feel abused.
Okay, there's going to be a kid that comes in that says, "Do you know me?" Say, "I'm one of the greatest people you've ever met."
Rita,
Stand-ups.
don't lie.
Am I going to know the kid?
No one does.
No.
Nobody knows. Why is the kid
He's
coming
an
in?
intern.
He works. He's not an intern. He works here. He's one of our
Okay,
employees.
well, this is interesting because I've been listening. You know, you have to listen to the news because it's and everybody says it's okay to lie because they're not under oath. So all my life I've been telling the truth, and I haven't been under oath, and I shouldn't have been because it's okay to lie.
It is.
Right.
So I know you, and I'm so happy to see you, and I've missed you, and I was wondering how you've been
I would
Yeah.
like you.
because I'm not under oath.
Right. So you can say
So
whatever
I
you want.
lie.
can say, so just tell me when I'm under oath, and then I will tell you the truth.
Right.
But otherwise, I will lie
You'll lie.
constantly. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't
You
matter.
made a hit movie and you were great in it. I'm just saying you were great.
Are
in
you
it.
under oath?
Right now, I am.
Right
yes.
now?
Yes.
Okay.
You were great.
Thank
Although,
you.
in
And I
fairness,
thank you.
Rita, most people, if I've ever done interviews for, or if I did a
Yeah.
film, I'd probably remember them if they were important. Yeah.
You would remember?
Yeah.
Okay. See,
But, come on.
Rich was fighting with one of our staffers about how well known he was before
No,
you
I
came
didn't
in.
say how well known I was.
Yes, you
I said
did.
throughout the building.
And then he specifically brought up. He was like, you know, Rita Rudner's who's coming in.
I didn't say if you knew me.
Oh, he goes, she was in my movie.
Yeah, but I
She,
didn't say-
and then you came
He
in.
implied
and
that
you
you
didn't
were
even
old
know.
chums,
no,
Rita.
but I
Yeah.
didn't say
But
no.
so
no,
much
no.
has happened in the 65 years since we did the movie.
I didn't say if she knew me. I said she was in a movie and she was
Right.
great. That's all I said.
Right. She
And
doesn't
that was
recall.
under oath.
That was
And
under
let me
oath.
tell
Yeah, the great part, yeah.
Rosie was in a movie. She probably doesn't remember me.
Probably not.
Probably
Yes,
not.
she does.
Probably not.
But
I've done
it's,
her
you
show.
know, to tell you the truth, you do look familiar. Not under oath. Not under oath. I'm sorry. No, but I do like you immediately.
You smell great.
Thank you very much. It's a combination. I created my own combination of scents, and it's lime and basil with a nectarine honey chaser. And I smell a little like a marinade, but I don't care because
Wow.
I just like do you know Joe Malone? It's under oath.
I do know Joe Malone.
See?
Candles. You know how I know her? Because Sharon Osbourne likes her candles.
I love her.
And I'm a suck up to the Osbournes.
See, and I love their scents, but you can mix them and create your own unique whiff.
Right.
So I'm so glad you enjoyed my whiff of nectarine and honey and lime basil.
It's amazing.
Thank
I'm
you
hungry.
very
The
much. You're
basil.
hungry now.
You do smell lovely.
Yeah.
I do.
Now you-
it's under oath. Yeah.
Yes, you are. You're still doing gigs. I've been a
I
fan
do.
of yours.
I'm a gigger.
Yeah, you are. I mean, for a long time now, and
I know. I don't gig very often though because I say I don't gamble, and I worked in Vegas for 25 years, so I'm good. So I don't have to do what I don't like to do. So I do what I like to do.
great.
Every time I
know.
went, I
Yeah.
went to your poster. You had a great poster, which was you kind of laying with your hands on the thing and your
because
legs.
I used to be a dancer on Broadway. You know that for 10
I do,
years.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I still stretch all the time, and my husband says, stop it. But I don't listen to him because it's not under oath, and I just want to do what I want to do because I can't sleep. See, now, too much information. Women, we share.
Yeah.
You don't need to know that.
I do.
I'd like to
Okay.
know that. I want to know what Rita Rudner's life is like.
I
So
do too.
I have to stretch, but so in fact, I might go. What should I see on Broadway tonight? Because I came here to see you.
Thank you.
Not under oath, and no, and to visit a lot of my friends because I haven't seen them before I go to Sarasota. So what should I see tonight? What's a good show?
I'll,
Les Mis isn't on anymore, is it?
No, Book of Mormon. That's
Book
the
of
only
But
way
I
to
can't
go.
get a ticket. It's maybe I'll get a sing.
I'm at-
You know what? I hear they're selling lap seats now, where I can sit on somebody's lap.
I'm at the
and
comedy
that's only
show.
$150.
You know what? And it was funny when we interviewed you. And no, people know Rita Rudner in the wedding dress or the gown or whatever, the gown.
I do a gown, yeah.
What wedding dress?
she
That was
did the
Claudia
gown.
Schiffer.
She did all the crappy
Wedding
one-nighters that we all did.
Of
like the Jerry
course.
Stanley gigs.
I
and
love
all,
Jerry. That was the
and,
first time I ever made $25.
And
yeah.
Freddy's and Penny Arcade.
Of
and
course, I did the place where they had the barrels of peanuts.
Yeah,
And they
oh.
threw the peanuts at you, and the chicken fights in the parking lot. Yeah, but I loved that. That
Yeah,
was
'cause I
really
was-
cool.
Would you
all
do
the
well in those
one-nighters.
gigs? Because you're so clean and you're soft-spoken on
Well,
stage.
you know what I think? As long as you're honest and you're under oath, and when you do comedy, people are going to go with you. If you try to be something you're not, then I think you're in trouble.
He tries to act straight, but
Yeah.
I know. I always give myself away when I sit on my keys. I come.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
awful, but it's funny. So, also, it's just that's what my problem with all these talent shows on television now, and the people are the people on The Voice. I mean, come on, they've got great voices.
Yes.
and every single one of them is terrific. But when you don't come through the ranks, you don't develop who you are. So all of a sudden, if you go, okay, you won, now you're a star, it doesn't kind of work, and then they disappear. But I think you got to put in the legwork. Don't you? The gig work before it all can come together. And I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
I had some of the best times in my life doing those one-nighters and going to Florida and do the comic strip down there and doing
In fact, I'm
Freddy's.
doing because I do theaters, and I just did a really nice theater in California. But I'm always afraid to try new material in the theaters because there's over 1,000 people there. So when I try new material, I love to go to clubs. I'm doing a club. If I'm doing a club here, I have to mention it. 54 Below, July 11th and 12th.
Where's that?
It's on 54th Street Below.
That's a dumb
That's
question.
why they call it that.
54th, okay?
Below Studio 54. And they mostly do music gigs. I might be the only comedy gig there, but I
but
did it
you're-
year before last, and it was really fun, and I get to visit all my friends.
You're Rita Rudner. You can work wherever you want.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you. Thank you. But I love to do little intimate places because I'm freer to try things and to talk to people. And I'm in Sarasota. I leave tomorrow, and I'm doing a really nice club there. And then I just did a special that's going to be on, and I don't know how to get it. It's because I'm so old. But it's going to be on demand. So I guess you have to demand it, and then it's on.
43 is not old.
Oh, yeah. That's not under oath.
You, how many Tonight shows did you do with
I
Carson?
don't know. A lot with Johnny Carson.
A
Yeah.
lot with him.
Yeah, he was very nice to me.
What-
But
I
it took
heard-
me 5 years to get on the show because Jim McCauley didn't like me and said Johnny would hate me. And I gave up. I just said, I can live my life without doing the Tonight Show. It's fine. I would love to do it, but I can't make you love me if you don't. Speaking as Bonnie Raitt. So finally, one day, this is because I'm writing an autobiography too. This is on my autobiography. And I can say that like that even though I haven't been drinking. Alex Friedman, who is Bud Friedman's wife, and Jim McCauley, they were all sitting together. And every time I would get on stage, Jim McCauley would get up and leave. He would say, I just don't even want to see this girl.
Wow.
Oh, she's on. I'm going to get up and leave. So he was sitting with Alex Friedman, and Alex said, why don't you watch her? She's funny. And made Jim McCauley sit down. And he watched me, and came over and he said, okay, I have a few adjustments. And then I think maybe you're ready for the show. So he said, this is my favorite thing anyone ever said. Have you watched Mary Lou Retton? Because this was a long time ago. And I said, yes, she's a gymnast. He said, you should watch her timing. And I said, she's a gymnast. He said, yeah, but she's got good timing. I said, I know she doesn't fall off the beam, but have you noticed I'm a comedian, And he said, well, I want you to put the first joke in the end joke in. I said, look, I'll try whatever you want to do. He said, meet me at the Comedy and Magic Club the next night. So I met him at the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach, and I did what he said, and it was terrible because he messed up what I'd been working
Right.
on. And I wasn't funny at all. And I said, oh, God, I'm not going to be on the show. And then he came over and he said, okay, you're right. It was better the other way. And then he put me on the show. And then Johnny liked me. And then I was on, I don't know, 15 times or something.
How nerve-wracking is that, though, when you've already been told Johnny's going to hate you and then you got to go on and do it?
Oh, it's horrendous, especially because I didn't get on the first couple times. They ran out of time.
Oh,
and
you got
I
bumped.
Just went, yeah. And then Johnny said, let's do a show called The Bump Show, because I've got 3 comedians who can't get on, and every time they come, they get bumped. So I was on a show called The Bump Show.
Who are you on with?
Daryl Savad and Rick Scheidner. And it was the 3 of us, and we all got to sit on the couch and talk to him. And from then on, it was good, and he liked me, and he was really nice to me.
But you made some, like, I knew a guy that did Carson 14 or 15 times. One of the funniest comics ever, David Say.
I love David Say. I was on the road with him a lot.
Such a great writer. And he did Carson 14 times, but then where did he go? Like, you're going, where did David go?
I think David liked the road better than he liked anything, because he had an active life on the road.
Yeah.
I think you all know what I mean.
Well,
I
he bought a
don't. I don't
plane.
know, David.
Did he buy a plane?
He bought a plane.
Yeah.
But, we sit around and talk comics. I'm not saying names. And some of the biggest comics and talk about how you are one of the best joke writers in the business.
Oh, well, that's very nice. I know I always keep trying, and I get very excited still after all these years that when I can think of a new joke. I have my little thing here that I try not to lose, where I write down silly things all the time. But the thing is, you can never figure out what's funny unless you say it to an audience. I can't say anything to my husband or my daughter or my friends. I can't put the pressure on them, because you go, is this, I used to do that when I was just starting, but the audience is your guide, because no audience gets together before a show and says, let's not laugh at that. It's a spontaneous, organic response that they're going to have. It's just funny. They're going to laugh. And they tell me. So I love that. I love my audience.
Well, that's why American Idol is so much bigger than Last Comic, because musicians can practice at home without an audience.
Exactly.
Okay, a singer can practice without. A comic cannot stand in front of the mirror unless they're masturbating. You can't just do comedy without an audience, and you're gonna die so many times.
Even when I have to do if I'm doing a television show and they go, you do a sound check and you do a lighting check and everything, and I say I'm not going to do my act because I can't stand it. I'm going to say jokes. There's nobody in the audience. No one's going.
Oh, how awful is that when they want you to do it to nobody but the camera people just to get your?
I know.
It's
I can't
humiliating.
do it. No, I can't do it. I just do 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and just say things, because it's just too. It's debilitating.
Don't you admire? I admire people though. There are people who could actually literally, because sometimes I'll put your stuff in a prompter and they'll have you do it, and people who can actually just do their act to an empty room and go along with the program. I kind of admire their ability to do it. Like that, they don't. It doesn't bother them. I can't. I get too self-conscious. I'm like, oh,
to me, it's like dancing without a partner. You're just doing half of it, and then the other half isn't there, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, it feels
around with
awful.
1 or 2, but I just pretend I'm doing it to the cameraman or something. I remember the first season of Last Comic, you had to perform in front of 2 people. It was ridiculous. It was in front
Bob
of
and Ross,
Ross
and Bob.
And I said, look, after this, I'll be selling my CDs in the lobby to try to break it up. But you don't care. You're just fucking mumbling. You know what I'm saying? In front. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense here.
No, I know what you mean.
I don't care. I just talking to a mic. It doesn't matter. You do a bit. You do.
I care. I don't like to do it.
I find it embarrassing. I've never been able to do it. I just get too self-conscious. It's not that I think I'm too cool for it. I'm just too self-conscious.
I don't like it
humiliating.
because I don't have any timing, because I take my timing from the audience, and I just don't have it. There's no flow.
They do that on America's Got Talent. Like the first round, you get to do it in the theater. And then everybody laughs, and it's all wonderful. And then if you make it past that, the second round, you just have to do it for the table of judges. So it's just 3 people.
Oh, my gosh. That's like when you have to go in and read something for executives. Oh, it's just awful.
What, you mean like for an acting audition or something?
Yeah. And they just sit there in the dark, and it's just, I don't, because I don't do a lot of acting, because, first of all, I don't like acting. And second of all, I don't like driving into Los Angeles, because it's just too much traffic and it makes me sick. But I have to sit there to get there at like 2 o'clock. You have to start at 9 o'clock because I have a beach house and I live at the beach a lot of the time. And they give me these parts because when you're an older woman, as I am, they really don't have a slot. So every time they send me some sides, I just got some sides, and they said, "Would you like to be a grandma zombie or something?" You know, on the Sci-Fi Channel. I said, "No, thank you. I'd rather walk on the beach with my husband and my dog."
Yeah.
And then they, let's see, I had a part for. A woman who couldn't find her teeth, or an old woman who had to
Sounds like
look
my
for
dream.
her teeth, and the ugliest woman in the world. They sent me one for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's nice.
So I said I'm not going to be in traffic for any of those parts. So
The ugliest woman in the world, they called her?
They called me. Yeah, she says the ugliest woman in the world. It was a show with Greg Kinnear, I remember. And they said, people can't even look at you. It was in the script. And I said, as appealing as this sounds, I'm going to have to pass.
Are you uncomfortable acting?
I like doing something. I've done movies that my husband Martin Bergman, we wrote. And we have a movie on iTunes called Thanks that was on Showtime, and that did well on Showtime. And then we wrote an older movie called Peter's Friends that I was in, and another movie called Weekend in the Country with Dudley Moore and Richard Lewis. But when I can write it and I can have some input in it, it makes it good. What we do now, we're doing plays, and Martin and I have written our third play, and we're doing that at a little playhouse near our beach house because it's fun. So I'm happy that I can do things that are fun.
You just kind of pick and choose what you want to do.
Yeah.
Were you friend? I mean, I knew you were on tour with Dennis Miller at one point.
A lot,
right?
Yeah. He was a Democrat then.
He was, huh?
He was, right?
Yeah, he was a
Didn't
Democrat.
it seem like I thought he was
I
more
don't know.
liberal?
I don't know how this happened. Yeah.
He was a brilliant writer and stuff. But were you did you ever work with like a Pryor, or did you know Pryor?
No, that was before me. I work a lot with Brad Garrett now.
He's the nicest guy in the world.
love
His
Brad.
club in Vegas is unbelievable.
He makes me laugh constantly.
The nicest
he
guy.
is so sweet. And I worked a lot with Louis Anderson and Robert
Another-
Klein. And those are the people I work with on the road a lot. And Dennis
Yes.
and I used to work a lot, but now he works with Bill O'Reilly. So,
Well, that's got to be a
Right.
great comedy tour.
yeah.
I don't know. He just got a little more conservative. I mean,
After
he's
a
still-
9/11.
little
more.
A little.
A little.
but was he? I guess he was more liberal back then. Yeah.
Now he's like a political pundit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what
Yeah.
he does.
I don't know what changed him.
I don't know. I'm sure he's still a very nice guy. I haven't talked to him recently.
How is it? I love Robert. I think Robert Klein is so underrated. We've had him on
He
too. He's one of my
is.
favorite people.
In fact, yes. In fact, I have questions for him because I have something that we might ask him to do that's going to be exciting. But I have to talk to him. I called him by accident the other day. I was walking my dog, and I pressed the wrong button because the sun was in my eyes. And he answered, and he said, "Rita, why are you calling me?" Because it came at Rita Rudner, and I said, "Who is this?"
He
He said,
pockets
"It's
out
Robert Klein.
Klein.
Why are you calling me?" I said, "Why? I don't know. Why did you?" Oh, anyway, so he's just the nicest, funniest guy. I love him.
Did you ever work with David Brenner?
A lot.
Oh, you
I
did?
love David Brenner.
Great.
Yes.
How good was he? He was
I know.
fucking great.
He was another guy. I just couldn't stop laughing whenever I was with him. I thought he was terrific.
You know, Carson's. I never met Johnny Carson. I heard that he was. People said he was cold. He could be very
He
distant.
was shy.
Was he shy?
Yeah. He was he would always come into the makeup room and say hello to me and say ask me how my day was. But that was like the third or fourth time I was on. It took him a while to warm up. So, and I think it's the same with David Letterman. When your job is talking to people every day for years and years and years, it's hard. I just did a gig with Oprah because, again, I'm very lucky.
Oprah
and-
who?
Oprah who? That's good. I like that. Oprah, the queen of the world. And it was a cruise to Alaska. And Oprah asked me to be the comedian on this cruise to Alaska, which was for her magazine. And she's not the most accessible person, but you have to realize that people just hound her for her whole life. So I understand why those people have to be protected to a certain degree.
Wait, so you hung out with her on the cruise, or you didn't know?
No.
Did you get to meet her?
I met her before because I've been on her show.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't really. I went to her seminar, and it was really good. She did like 2 big talks, and then I did my show. And but I didn't actually hang out with her because, again, there are how many people on the ship. And then what's she going to do? Say hello to everybody?
But you know her though, so you probably
I've met her
coulda.
before, but again, I don't know if she'd remember me.
If you were on her show, I'm sure she would. I mean, although sometimes
she did
it
a
is
lot
humiliating.
Of shows,
That's
you know?
true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought someone was going to recognize you or remember you and they didn't? It's humiliating.
It's in my act, yes. I was
Really?
at a Starbucks once, and somebody said, "I don't want to insult you, but you look a lot like Rita Rudner." And that was my
That's a
that's
little
my
rough,
favorite
yeah.
thing they ever said. Yeah,
And that was her agent.
yeah, I like that. That was good topper. Yeah.
When you performed, did you meet President Obama? You performed for him, right?
Yes, and I did meet him, but okay, you want to hear the story here?
I would love to.
Okay, because it's a good story. So they asked me to do. I'm a friend of Harry Reid's, and I did a lot for Harry Reid when I was in Las Vegas. And Harry Reid called me up and said, I'm doing. Obama is coming in for a fundraiser for me, and it was going to be at Caesar's Palace. Would you host it? And it was me and Sheryl Crow and Bette Midler, and it was. I said, it's going to be scary because I'm not known for political material, but I'm going to try because I always like to try. And it was a special occasion. And my daughter at the time was, I guess, 7. So I said, I would love my daughter to meet President Obama. And they said, no problem. And we went in and they said, okay, it's time you and Sheryl and Bette come meet President Obama. And I said, what about my daughter Molly? And they said, she hasn't been vetted. And I said, well, she's 7. You know something I don't know? And they said, there's no way that we can have somebody who isn't vetted meet President Obama. And I said, well, I don't think there's any way that I can host the show, because
Wow.
that's really unacceptable. I got so angry.
I don't blame you.
My little daughter sitting there, and I was all dressed up. And so they said, well, we'll have to have the president of the security agency come talk to you. So they had him come talk to me, and they said, it's just a rule that we can't do that. And I said, it's just a rule that I can't go on stage. I mean, I was so angry. So finally, they had the head of security come down, and he said, what's the problem? And I said, well, everybody is telling me that my 7-year-old daughter can't say hello to President Obama. And they said, that's ridiculous. Bring her in.
Just that quickly.
Yeah. So we went in, and he was absolutely charming. And he said, very nice to meet you, Molly. I have 2 daughters about your age. You should come and play at the White House. And, it worked, but I had to go through that. So I was a little bit taken aback. And then Molly said, Mommy, when are we going to go to the White House so I can play? And I said, he's a politician and he says things like that. You don't take
Yeah,
him
you had to
seriously.
explain to her
He
bullshit
wasn't,
mental.
he wasn't under oath.
You
He
should
wasn't
not.
under
He was
oath.
not under
No.
oath.
Shouldn't have hosted until you went to the White House.
That's true. I should have gone to the White House. And he said, we have a new playground that we built out of recycled tires, and you can come and play.
Were you really going to back out of the gig at that moment?
Absolutely. I mean, I just thought that was, but at some point you got to stand up and say, this is ridiculous that my 7-year-old daughter hasn't been vetted. So
What do you think was the biggest gig that you've ever done? Because that's a pretty
big gig.
I mean, with that lineup, with President Obama there, that has to be among the biggest.
It
And
was
this doesn't count
good
here.
because
Right.
I could do I had a line where Harry Reid came up and did a speech, and then he introduced President Obama, and then President Obama did a speech, and then they introduced me, and I said, I never thought my 2 opening acts would be President Obama and Senator Harry Reid.
He introduced you? Oh, that's when the show started after the speech.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
What-
so it was fun.
What club did you work out of in New York, the Improv or Cats?
I started at the Improv because I used to go, I was in Annie on Broadway, and I used to go walk from Annie to, first I did Yale Triple Inn, which was across the street, and then there was the piano bar, and then I'd go to the Improv. And after a while, Silver, again, some people don't like you. Silver Friedman, who ran that club, remember? I don't know.
Yeah.
She just didn't like me. And she said, you're going to have to change everything about yourself. You're going to have to change your voice. Your voice isn't good for comedy. And you don't have any timing. I said, maybe I should meet Mary Lou Retton. I don't know. And so I used to get on at 2 a.m. all the time. Me and Donna, I forget her last name. She's a really good singer on Broadway. She's understudying Hello, Dolly. But anyway, we would always be on at 2 a.m. And Bill Maher said, I've just gotten a gig hosting at Catch a Rising Star, and this is ridiculous that they don't put you on till 2 a.m, and I will put you on at Catch a Rising Star. So I said, okay, and I started going over to Catch, and he started putting me on.
Well, Silva didn't pass Eddie Murphy either. She said,
really?
Yeah, she said, I don't see it.
Ah!
Swear to God.
Wow.
And then he went over to the
company.
comic strip.
Yeah,
And
see?
he became a comic strip guy.
Well, I went over to Catch and started getting on, and then working the comic strip and the Comedy Cellar and all those places. But she just, she was a tough cookie.
Did you ever get in with her or no?
I never saw her again. No. Did anyone know whatever happened?
Is she alive?
I don't know.
I don't know her.
I think she moved out to L.A. and is living with her daughter Zoe.
Okay.
I think. Who?
I was just gonna say you were on Broadway before you were doing comedy.
Oh yeah, for 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So
dancing.
when you did you think that Broadway was drying up and you should go over to comedy? Was it just like this thing relates to me more? Like, how do you make that transition?
Okay, I was reading an article because I have I don't have a great education, and I decided I had to educate myself. So I'd read the New York Times every day because I moved to New York when I was 15 and started.
Are you a high school
dancing.
dropout?
No, I graduated, but I skipped 11th grade, and I did 12th and courses in the summer, and I want to be a dancer. What do I want to sit for? So I was reading an article about soft soap in the New York Times, and it said, this is a new product on the market. When you introduce a new product, you can either you introduce a bar soap, and then you're going to be in competition with every bar soap that's already there, or you can introduce a new way to experience soap. And that was the liquid soap that had just, started. And I said, well, I can either be a dancer and singer and actress, and there are a zillion of them, or I can be a comedian. And I really only know 2 female comedians, Joan Rivers and Phyllis Diller, that were evident to me at the time. And neither one of them were doing an act that I could, even though I met both of them later in their lives, and they were wonderful women, and I admired both of them tremendously, they were both doing very aggressive styles of comedy. And I wanted to do something that was more laid back and hadn't been done before. So I said, well, I could be like a liquid soap. I could be something different. So I started doing that. And then I found out that I loved that. It was a dormant love that I had for it. I remember when I was a kid sneaking out because I didn't have a TV in my room, my parents wouldn't let me, and watching Johnny Carson's monologue a lot. And I could always remember everything that he said the next day, but I just never knew I would ever be a comedian, ever.
I was watching last night, just some random Johnny Carson clip from 1974, and he's just bombing. And it was so great when he would bomb.
Good.
And
well,
just,
when you can bomb like that and still be
acknowledge
great,
it.
It's good.
I used to come home from school in fourth grade, and I'd listen to Von Meter every day.
That's what you did in your final year of school?
Yeah, and he did. That was pretty good. But his impressions of the Kennedys were spot on. And this was the biggest comic at the time, the biggest. And then when they got assassinated, no one would hire him.
Sure.
Wow.
Done.
Yeah.
Done. And it's just... Well, I'm just saying, when you're a kid...
I'm just saying, what a shitty gig, because I think I know who he is.
Who, Von Meter?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden have that dry up, like to have your gig ended, because there's no way to... Wouldn't he do speeches as Kennedy? He would do his speeches, he was just doing...
His album was, one of them, The First Family. The day after Kennedy got shot, Lenny Bruce went on stage and goes, well, there's Von Meter's career.
Oh, no.
Because even if you can do other stuff, you really have just pushed it all into that one basket. There's no coming back.
Okay.
There was a comedian who used to do Ronald Reagan impressions.
Colin Quinn.
No,
I
Jim
think
Morris.
that was, but maybe him too. But I remember Jim Morris.
Yeah.
And then when he left, there was no call for it.
It does dry. If you can't do anyone else, it does, because I guess the need for it is just not there, because no one cares if you do Bush now or Clinton.
Right.
It's all Trump.
But
so.
somebody like Rich Little will work forever, but he's doing everybody.
Exactly.
He's doing,
Yeah.
I guess he still works.